want you to hear.
And I pretended like I didn't hear my name a couple times. That's cool. Yeah, it's all good. If I didn't hear it, it doesn't count.
Are we ready to start? All right, we're ready to start. We're going to start with our Upper Valley Community Center update. And Steve, I think that's you.
Well, first of all, thank you guys very much for having me here to fill you in on where we are on this project. So I'm sure most of you guys already kind of know the generals here. It started out years ago as this idea for an indoor aquatic center. Now it includes a library. That's the biggest concrete addition, and then we're also looking at kind of it's also supposed to be a third space, and there's this big outdoor space. The particulars on those two, we're still working out ultimately. That's going to be a lot of community engagement to figure out the specifics there. One major update to the vision that I feel like is becoming more concrete as we go is the idea of using the facility as a community resilience hub. So the idea of a community resilience hub would be that if there's another December 2025 or a fall 2025, just a really bad wildfire season, flooding, what have you, the community resilience hub, it's sustainable via solar panels and energy storage. So basically it's a place where the lights can stay on, folks can come and recharge, there's communications, there's refrigeration for medicines and things like that. Essentially, it's just a place for the community to come and feel like they have a safe space to be in these disaster situations. There is precedent for this around the country. It's becoming a more and more it's a bigger thing these days, and Leavenworth is kind of the perfect location to have a good one. So we've already, and this is actually an idea that was initially floated to me by some community members. They have taken it upon themselves to do a fair amount of due diligence on this, and they've put me in touch with people at the PUD, as well as people at the National Laboratory of the Rockies. So I have been working with the National Laboratory of the Rockies for the last couple of weeks on some free technical assistance that they're offering us. They're mainly just going to go over high level sort of system capacity and things like that, like what we would need to, the amount of battery storage, things like that we would need to meet our community resilience goals. Whitney Machado, I believe, who's the PUD wildfire chief, they've said that they think this could be a really great community resource facility. Same with actually the Red Barn. I did meet with Tanucci, and they have a minor community resilience hub set up there. He thinks that both of these locations are super viable for community resource hubs. So same basic concept, basically, when everything's going wrong, this is a place where the community can go. So one of the nice things about community resilience hub angle is it does unlock a significant amount of grant funding. We're talking about, obviously we can't guarantee any of it, but we're talking about several $1 million in funding that we wouldn't be able to access if we didn't go this route. Some of it's funding that we would have no access to, and it shores up the case for funding that we might have access to otherwise, but this just makes a stronger case for it, essentially. So yeah, we're going to continue to work on that and try to shore that up. As far as what we're working on right now, the task in progress, there is this Housing and Urban Development Community Facilities Grant. I've talked about it before, but basically it's been stuck in limbo for pretty much since the day that I got here due to a technical issue. I just haven't been able to hit submit on the initial grant package. It's been super frustrating. And I haven't actually even had a chance to tell Selby this. Literally 45 minutes ago, I just heard from Patrick Woodland again, our grant manager at HUD. And he gave me the green light to go ahead and basically do a bunch of this manually and bypass their portal, which is what we've been having issues with. So over the next few days, I'm going to kind of clear my schedule, print off a bunch of documents, and probably be bothering Selby a whole bunch to sign a bunch of things. Maybe Chantel too, most likely. And I'm hoping we can actually submit this thing within the next few days. Patrick Woodland says that on average, he has to send it back 3 times before he gets approved. I've tried really hard to get everything where it should be, I think. So we'll see. I'm shooting for a one and done here, but it may take a few tries. In any case, I think we're finally starting to move the needle from there. Then there's an action plan that has to be done, unfortunately through the portal, but hopefully that side of the portal is more functional. And then we can start to look at drawing down funds, which we got the green light from HUD to use these funds for soft costs. So feasibility study costs, things like that. And those are things that, if all goes according to plan, we'll start to need that money pretty soon here. There's the RCO planning grant. The applications for those just opened up. I have not had a chance currently to really dive into the application, but I plan to in the next few weeks. That's the one that we had to update our pros plan for. So that one is due July 15th, I believe. Hopefully I'll make some good headway on that. That application is much more simple than the HUD process. It's pretty much just a normal grant application, nothing too crazy there. Although there may be actually a presentation element to that, at least for the finalists, so we'll have to see. And then there's the steering committee. So we've been talking for a while about establishing a steering committee. At the last UVAD meeting that Selby and I went to, there was a lot of interest in that. Basically, after that meeting, I got probably 7 informal applications, which is exciting, but really it kind of just, what we need to do is we need to go back, we need to formalize a steering committee charter and then put out a request for, applications or nominations essentially, and then just kind of do this through a more transparent and formal process. We will be hoping for some city council participation on the steering committee. So if you guys can kind of figure out who would be interested and able to contribute to that, that would be awesome. That's one of our asks for you guys tonight. Moving on to the timeline for the community center project. This is super high level. But basically the rest of 2026 is going to be this sort of administrative groundwork. PFD formation, which that's another thing we're going to ask you guys to do tonight. So the Public Facilities District, that's what enables us to use a voter implemented 0.2% sales tax to issue revenue bonds. There's also some general obligation bond capacity there. And basically what needs to happen is you guys need to formally direct us, if you're willing to begin the process of PFD formation, at which point we will go to the Department of Commerce, and then that will initiate a feasibility study. That'll take about 3 months. The city will have to bear the cost of the feasibility study. We're hoping though that if we get this HUD grant, that we'll be able to apply those grant funds to the cost of the feasibility study. I want to say it's like $15,000 for a certain percentage of, I can't remember the exact calculation off the top of my head, but in any case, we'd have more than enough grant funding to cover it. And then also PASCO, what they did is they passed a resolution of intent to cover any pre-vote costs with the PFD, with the revenue once the vote passed. So that's another option for reimbursing those funds. 2026 will also hopefully do some pre-design studies, so programming, things like that. We'll have PRSA expansion, so that's something they'll have to work with Sean Smith and the commissioners on. That will also require its own feasibility study. All of these will also require a few different public hearings. And so moving on to 2027, we'll be looking at kind of getting early schematic designs done, and we'll be preparing ballot measures. So we generally talked about November 2027 as the date we're looking at for the general election for both of these votes, but we're not really rock solid on that. I actually just learned recently that the fire district is potentially going to have a levy vote on that same ballot. So the sequencing obviously matters a lot here. I think historically the PFD and the sales tax, that may be a little bit more politically palatable. Hard to say. With the PRSA property taxes, I know historically that has been a little bit more of an issue. So we have to do a lot of thinking on that and figure out how we want to sequence those. There's plenty of other elections, obviously, that we could look at. But this timeline I developed with the assumption that it would be the November 2027 general election. So if that was the case, then we have to spend a lot of time making sure we have good legal ballot measures. In 2027, hopefully we'll get to do a whole bunch of community engagement on those early schematic designs. So hopefully similar to what we did with the parking garage, we can do community engagement nights, things like that. Show some people some kind of concrete designs to take a look at. This is when our various partner organizations like UVAB and the library, Friends of the Library, hopefully maybe, we'll kind of do the fundraising campaigns. 2028, if the elections are successful, that's when we'll be doing kind of final bond sizing. That's when we'll finalize the schematic design. We'll be doing construction, permitting documents, things like that. And then 2029, that's bidding and contractor selection, and then breaking ground eventually. So this timeline kind of assumes a traditional design build procurement process. But talking to Grant Lee and then talking to Matt Watkins, who's the executive director of the PFD in Pasco, because they just built their own aquatic center there. It's different from ours. It's very water parky, lots of lazy rivers, water slides, things like that. But in any case, they funded it entirely with a PFD, and they use a progressive design build procurement process. So it won't necessarily compress the timeline if we go that route, but it will shift things around a little bit from what you see on the timeline here. The conventional wisdom is kind of that, oh, there's fewer change orders and less chance of runaway costs. I think Bramble will say, and then Matt kind of confirmed this, there's still going to be change orders. They're just kind of more priced in from the beginning as contingencies, essentially. So fewer surprises, hopefully, at a minimum. And then 2029 through 2031, that's construction, operational ramp up. We figure out staffing, finalize programming, all of those things. And we're shooting for spring, summer 2031 for a grand opening. So the next steps for us and what we're hoping to ask you guys of will be basically that formal, we'll ask you to pass a formal resolution directing us to initiate PFD formation. And like I said, there's kind of a roadmap there in your packet that gets into specifically the PFD formation, just the formation side of the PFD. It doesn't get into anything beyond basically bylaws adoption. There are some really specific RCWs about how we have to build the Board of Public Facilities District. I believe that would also include a few of you guys from the City Council, among other people. So yeah.
Yeah, no electeds on the PFD board.
Okay, never mind then. Not in that case. But in any case, there is very, very specific guidelines on how you have to form the PFD board. So yeah, do you guys have any questions for me? Oh, I did also reach out to Department of Commerce, and they gave me a good checklist of basically what we need to initiate the feasibility study. And there's quite a lot there, so it's going to take, I would say, maybe a month or so for us to get that all together before we can actually go ahead and give it to them and have them initiate the feasibility study. There's also going to be an interagency agreement between the city and Department of Commerce regarding reimbursement of the costs of the feasibility study.
So my first question would be,
Yeah.
Can you go over just the critical parts of that HUD grant you're after?
Yeah, so
To cover,
critical in what sense? Like you mean the application process, or
just what the money's being used for.
so soft costs specifically.
Right.
That's what we have. That's what we currently have the approval for. If we were to do any hard cost construction, anything that is breaking any kind of ground, anything like that, that would be called. I forget the exact terminology, but basically that's a situation changing event essentially, and we can't currently do that, and we want to avoid getting into any of that, or else it could kind of mess up the pipeline for that particular grant.
So that kind of money is kind of going to use maybe toward feasibility studies,
Yep.
pre-design things.
Yeah, exactly. All of that stuff, feasibility, pre-design, theoretically even schematic design if there's any left after all the feasibility and all that.
And my other question was, our design so far. I understood that we're taking the gym out. The gym isn't going to be there, or is that?
The whole building is going away.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question would be, we need gyms in this town. Can't we design somehow to leave that gym intact and not build another one? Because this gym works and we're always desperate for gym space. So I'm just proposing somehow when we get to the design phase that we hold on to the gym in some way or form.
And you're talking about the gymnasium in the Osborne building?
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's going to come down to the council and the community and what people really want out of this project. The city isn't planning to be authoritarian about any of this. So,
Okay.
I don't know how practical that realistically is. I mean, I think that building is pretty, from what I understand, and that building is not super usable at this point. I mean, we just did a big asbestos abatement on it.
Mm-hmm.
So theoretically, there's no asbestos in there anymore, but it sounds like it's not super viable for anything that we would want to do from a contemporary gym.
It would most likely be cheaper
Yeah.
to start over and build incorporate gym space as part of this project than try to incorporate the existing gym into a new structure.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, the existing gym is not even regulation size, is it?
No,
No, it's a gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an old gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought that up because they're always needed gym space in this town, so I haven't seen any thought of gyms in this new building, so
Yeah.
question was.
The pickleball people have been attending the EVAT meetings, petitioning heavily for some kind of court space.
Right. I didn't realize the building was that far an issue as far as structural integrity.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. That's what, as far as I know, that's what.
We did a fatal flaws analysis, and that was when we were talking about doing partial demolition to reuse what was there. At that point, it said, you could redevelop this if you really wanted to. I'm not saying it's the best thing in the world to do, but if you really wanted to, you could do it. It's feasible to do that.
Okay.
But if we're starting over and incorporating a pool as the primary use and a library as a secondary use, I think it makes sense to scrap everything designed from the ground up.
Is the community, so I guess my question would be then, is the community going to have a say in possible gym of some sort, or,
Yeah, I mean, the hope is that the steering committee is comprised of representation from the community directly. We'll be doing a ton of engagement on this over time. So if we're hearing loud and clear that people want a gymnasium in there, then it's something that we would absolutely prioritize. And like Selby said, I mean, I'm actually surprised that we don't have a pickleball contingent here in the audience because they're super passionate.
right?
Every opportunity they come to tell us that we need to have some kind of court in there. And they will, I'm sure they will continue to take those opportunities as time goes on. But
Right, that's a little easier than but they want it indoor, like, all year long kind of court.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Don't laugh at pickleball. Pickleball yesterday, so I represented you.
I would not.
I lost, but it was.
Travis is a big pickleball player.
No, I'm glad to see that they're so excited about it. It's good because we're going to need that kind of grassroots support. Really, this project is supposed to be for the community, by the community. It's not just what Selby and Stephen want. We want everybody to be super excited about this, and that's part of it too. This community resilience hub aspect. I think not everybody is a swimmer, not everybody's a pickleballer, but I do think that everybody in this city can benefit from a space that feels safe when we have these crazy weather situations that aren't really even. We're not just talking about rare occurrences anymore. This is stuff that happens every single year, essentially, in some way. So, I think that people will really identify with that.
Okay, well, I see Travis has got his hand up, so I'll yield to Travis.
Oh, hey, good catch. Hey, so this is very exciting stuff, man. I feel like you just started. You're whipping this stuff out. This is so great, man. What is, and I know that the soccer club came and spoke to us. You've got this timeline kind of starting now for this and developing the new space, but what about now until 2028 when we begin construction? Do you have any ideas on that, or what are the designs for kind of the soccer club and spoke to us? Is there still, we're gonna throw some monies at it before we as we get this thing going to make it a useful space right now?
You're asking if in the meantime we're planning to basically make it functional as it currently is, but before we go into the actual remodeling of the building.
So you're not, sorry, Travis.
Sorry, yes.
Stephen's not privy to the conversation that the soccer club had with the council last winter. We received a presentation from youth soccer wanting to have, basically wanting to use the covered area, the old courts, during the inclement weather.
Got it.
And we had a conversation, and I think they went back. I think we expected a proposal of some sort, more concrete, but we've heard nothing since.
Numbers. Okay, and I guess then this is great. Was it the fall or winter they spoke to us? I feel like it was just a couple months ago. You're right. So Stephen wasn't there. I think it'd be cool to really start thinking about, the useful space of it for this winter or not. I mean, I'm just curious if there's, put in your head, Stephen, of maybe there are spaces to be used until, I don't want to not use it until 2031. I mean, that's 5 years away. There's got to be something we can do and use it.
No, and if there's a safe and productive way to use, especially the sort of more covered outdoor spaces, I'm guessing are a little bit more valuable than anything that's in the school building. I don't know if any of you guys have been in there recently, but it's not great in there. I mean, there's like graffiti and just people have gotten into it, and it's kind of just falling apart. But yeah, I mean, if there's something that we can do safely and productively with anything on that grounds, then I'm certainly not gonna, I'll advocate for it. So.
Question. So I'm looking at this timeline. And I just need you to tell me. The answer is yes, but I just need you to say it. So I'm looking at the sales tax election. That's going to be what, Q4 2027, and dirt doesn't start turning until Q2, Q3 2029. Given with how construction costs are spiraling, we still are confident that that period of time between the election, when dirt starts turning and when we start getting bids back, that the numbers are going to be right.
So we'll have to agree after the election, we would have to, finalize bond sizing and all of that stuff. But it's raised an important point. The PFD alone is not going to pay for this. PFD and the PRSA alone are not going to pay for it. There's a huge grant, but then also a huge private donation element to this. That's really going to be the bulk of it. So if our bonding capacity continues to be the PFD over time, then ultimately that's going to be more that the community will have to come together to find for it. But yeah, I mean, it's a reasonable suggestion that probably construction costs will continue to rise. But I think after the election, I mean, we'll have a pretty good idea of where we stand in that moment at least. So
Sure.
We have a question.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but
yeah.
Can we do this without the PFD? Like, do we have a contingency if we don't?
Well,
if the PFD doesn't go through.
A lot of times what people say kind of is that if the PFD doesn't happen, then it's pretty much dead in the water. I don't know if I fully agree with that characterization, but maybe that's just because I'm overly optimistic. But I mean, at the end of the day, a person, if they wanted to, can fund this entire thing.
Right.
So it's not like there's no option, but as of right now, I think our last estimate for PFD funding capacity was like $9 million. So did that include both revenue and general obligation bonding?
That was 9 million. Pick right when I took them. Sorry. $700,000 to 0.2%.
Yeah.
Which generated about $7 million, which would pay off a $9 million bond over 20 years. That was all capped.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, in theory, there may be actually a little bit more than that because we can do a non-voted 0.5% general obligation bond against the assessed value of within the PFD. So or even 1.25% if it is voted. I don't think we haven't talked about going that route because that's just an additional property tax essentially that those conversations are difficult. So sorry, I got a little bit lost there. But without the PFD, it means that we have a lot of ground to make up for sure.
On that is that the beauty of it is that majority of the sales tax is paid for sales basically by the visitors.
Yeah.
And so again, when we did the transportation benefit district, I mean that's mostly on the backs, let me use the word, of our visitors, where most of our residents, they pay a portion of that because they're in town, but majority of their shopping is down in Wenatchee, down Valley, whatever. This is the same situation here with PFD, is that there's going to be slight impact to some of our constituents, but the majority of the mind share would be covered by other. Yeah, 100%. But the comment I had following up since I got it is that I love the idea, love the idea of the resiliency portion of it. When I read it, the notes says like I think it was mentioned. It's a fantastic idea. One question I had, I'm sure I know the answer, but it's not necessarily tied to solar. Solar is sexy, solar is good, battery costs over time, but there's the old standby generator too, because it's winter, sometimes the sun is not out for weeks then. So that does not preclude us from doing conventional sources.
In theory, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that a diesel generator. So where that comes in is that I don't know how that affects certain grant opportunities, and that might be the one thing that comes in where that comes into play. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, we want the facility to be functional more than pretty, right? So or trendy or whatever. So I mean, solar has a lot of benefits to it, obviously. But if we can shore that up with the diesel generator or something like that, I'm sure that can be a part of the conversation, as long as we just, like I said, we account for the fact that certain certain grants kind of be ineligible for it. We're bringing
Might be the backup. You never know.
There is one grant in particular that we're eyeing for this project. It's Department of Commerce's Library Capital Improvement Program grant. Right, I think that it's a 2-year cycle. They're doing it right now. We're not ready. In 2 years, we're hopeful that we will be ready. A requirement of that grant, should we get it, and again, it's up to $2 million, which is significant, is it has to be LEED Silver certified.
Needs to be what?
LEED Silver.
Yeah, so right now, what I have, the National Laboratory of the Rockies, they're looking at, I believe, 4 days of energy storage, essentially. That would be primarily not generated, but captured with solar panels. So beyond 4 days, then we're talking about kind of probably a disaster on another scale. And yeah, if we think that that's a possibility, then we should definitely be looking at backups for the backup.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Great. Yeah.
Stephen, on your PFD fact sheet, you list a bunch of different taxes and fee opportunities.
Yeah.
That are available to us through state law. What is meant by, there's a couple of them, I'm not entirely sure what it means. What is meant by admission taxes up to 5%?
So that's specifically for admission to the facility, and these are things that a lot of these we haven't explored specifically for this project. But yeah, so taxes on admission to the facility or taxes on parking fees at the facility is what the parking one is.
So like an additional tax in addition to just their admittance fee that they're paying.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
So if the town Toyota Center adopted that, then every wild game you'd buy a ticket to 5% would go back to the PFD.
Okay, and same with the parking taxes, like if people are paying for parking to get to park at that parking lot,
Yeah.
then there would be an additional fee.
Yeah, it wouldn't apply to like City of Leavenworth parking. You guys have any other questions?
Other questions? Last shot.
Last
For
question.
now.
Last question.
Yeah.
Who, the Community Resilience Center, how do people use it? When they come there to restore?
Well, that depends a little bit on how we decide we want to build it, how much money we can put into it, how much grant funding. But I think the main thing is that, the most important thing maybe is keeping medications that need to be refrigerated. So insulin,
Okay.
things like that.
All right.
In a perfect world, there's enough space here for people to come and be comfortable, to recharge their devices. We have some kind of, communication hub there so people can get word out to their loved ones who live outside the valley, things like that. We've
So they have
talked,
to drive around their cars charging their cell phones.
right. We've talked about the idea of maybe a small kitchen. I don't know if that really pencils out in this particular project. It's nice to think about, and if it's something that the community really wants to see in there, then it's something that we absolutely can look at. But it's really basically a safe space. If you think about what a Red Cross shelter does, this is Leavenworth's dedicated center and it doesn't have to only be massive 4-day disasters either. Another thing I think actually would be really important is just basically shelter from poor air quality. That happens on a regular basis. People who are in sensitive groups, I think having a place where they can go and breathe some clean air for the day, I think that would be really important.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I don't know, now that's a whole different set of power requirements, I'm sure, but
Right. All right.
Well, catch the whole tree. Yeah, sorry.
Travis, was your hand up or
I did
down?
Travis beat both of us, so.
I just real quick. So now that we're on Zeke's last question, now I've got questions on his questions. We talk about this resiliency hub. We have the fest hall, right? And so is this become a bigger kind of conversation of, wow, do we need to get cots and some of these preparedness things, and why haven't we looked at the fest hall to do this? And talk about a kitchen. You mentioned kitchen. That's what made me think we already have a kitchen in a fest hall with a big open space. So
It's not a regular kitchen.
Right.
Can't cook anything in the fest hall.
Right. Well, my comment
Oh.
to that is that.
Okay.
Let's look at
Anyway.
the augment resiliency. So if we need to make improvements to the fest hall, that would benefit the fest hall too. But we can
That we can also
so we always
use for
use
events
that
too.
we can use for events.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then also do commercial kitchen there to augment space, because if we need to get cots, and I've been in Buffalo in a fire hall, 300 cots would fit in the fest hall, so let's think about that as we're building out the community's resiliency, how we can use one of the assets that we have already.
And the fest hall that's where when the PUD talks about community resource centers, the fest hall could be very well suited for that kind of thing. It's not necessarily a resilience hub in the sense that it has like energy storage and it can stay running for an extended period of time. But if it's a place where people can go and there's a cop, what have you, then it's still valuable in my eyes. So
One more.
Regarding your community center timeline. It's extended over 5 years right now. Do you believe that any of these phases could run concurrent rather than being dependent upon each other? To shorten the timeline a little bit, I have a little bit of concern about doing pre-design in 2026 and the actual design and permitting in 28 and into 29, and the code changes and design and costs and all of those things that could change over time. Is there anything that we could run concurrently? Or do they all need to be dependent upon each other?
So if we were to decide to go with like a progressive design build procurement process, some of those design related things would actually run concurrently. Like I said, it wouldn't necessarily compress the timeline, but it would shift things into different places. That's basically, for anyone who's wondering, that's basically where you bring in the design team and the contractor to basically figure the project out at the same time. So yeah, I mean, and I have seen it argued that it can save time. I just didn't feel like I could commit on paper to that, because I think that's sort of an aspirational fact more than a given.
Building a tunnel under Baltimore at the same time.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So design build is actually what we've adopted, and there are some benefits to it. To Jan's point, we maybe want to have a discussion about design build at time. Yeah.
It saves a ton of money on
ton of money,
the
too.
building process.
Yep.
And plus the current pool hasn't been in place.
They were when I went to Pasco to go visit their aquatic center, they were very not just so both the owner's rep, who's also a DBIA, he's on the board for the DBIA, so obviously he kind of was selling as much as anything, but and Matt, the executive director of the PFD, they were both all for the progressive design build process. And it seems like we're, and Brantley maybe backing up on this, it's becoming more and more just how you do these sort of projects. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's absolutely worth going that route if you guys think it's prudent at the end of the day.
I'm also surprised that you're suspecting that it would be almost 2 years for construction.
Yeah. Some of this timeline is, if you're too optimistic, you overpromise and then underdeliver. There's a world where it's possible that we could get it done sooner. But I think it's better to assume that things will take, at least at this point where we are right now, it's safer to assume that things are going to take a while. I mean, even if we look at PFD formation, it's like on the surface, that's a 3-month feasibility study, but we're also kind of waiting on Commerce to initiate that feasibility study once we've asked for it, and then there's just always going to be delays with this kind of thing. So 2031, I think that's a responsible estimate for when we get the door open. In a perfect world, we get it open a little bit sooner, but I wouldn't feel comfortable promising before that.
And just throw something out there. So like Stephen alluded to, so my former job in the federal government, we almost exclusively did design build.
Yeah.
I mean, we avoided design bid build as much as humanly possible.
One thing about design build is you do have to go in front of there's an advisory board actually that you have to pitch it to in Washington, and it's not necessarily given that they'll give you permission to do that. So what is it? It is the capital. So it's the project review committee on the capital projects advisory review board. I know that they didn't. Kennewick was denied. I don't know the exact particulars of their project, Pasco obviously got the green light to go ahead with it. So, it's not the kind of thing that we're allowed to just say, we're doing it this way. We have to actually go through a little bit of a process, but.
Is that because the federal funds are tied to it?
I think it just has more to do with, it's a change from the traditional procurement process, as far as Washington is concerned. So it's basically, instead of, they want to make sure that you're not, I don't know, and maybe Brantley has a better idea of why they care. I think it's basically just, obviously the design bid build process has been in place for a long time, and it's the way it is to make sure that public funds are being used responsibly. So
And it's a federal board.
This isn't, I believe, just
Or Washington State.
it's just a state board.
Yeah, it's a state board.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a state board.
You said Washington, I was like,
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
yeah.
yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
State, not DC.
Yeah, state, yeah. Olympia, as opposed to Washington.
Which, depending on their backlog, could be months for them to render a decision.
Well, I mean, question, I guess, to the mayor is, would it be sense to have like a 20-minute primer on design and build for the council, or do we want to, or to get us comfortable with that concept? I mean, is everyone familiar with it? I know I'm comfortable with the concept, but I don't want,
I don't know.
There's a if I may, there's the DPIA offers like an 8-hour design build webinar. I don't know if any of you guys want to sit through that. I'm planning to sit through it, just because I suspect it'll be valuable for me to understand the ins and outs of it more in my position. But it's an option if anybody really wants to do a deep dive on it.
So after he attends his 8-hour
He can
design
give a
build,
primer.
he will give us a primer.
Yeah.
There we go. I like the way it takes.
Sounds
I like it.
Yeah.
Integrated.
And there's any steps before we have to make that decision. All right, well, let's go. Thank you for
Thank you guys.
planning
Appreciate
to
it.
date and all that you've
Thanks,
done. I look forward to seeing these steps go out. So,
Thank you guys very much. My wife is expecting me to get home, so I'm gonna
Okay.
step out. Okay, have a great night.
Thank you.
No, you're staying for me.
Move on for the 6-year transportation improvement plan.
Evening, Mayor, City Council. Yeah, just wanted to spend some time this evening going over the 6-year transportation improvement program plan. And I will say this is a draft document because I've already caught 2 errors on this document. So this is why we do these things. But basically, there's over the next 20 minutes or so, we'll kind of talk about the projects that we're going to look at over the next 6 years or so. Some of these are relatively well-defined projects, and as you go on further in the years, some of the future projects are more emotional at this point. Let's see, and also one of the reasons why we're looking at doing this now is it actually helps with grant opportunities, and it also helps us build our budget for 27 and 28. So we're concurrently with the TIP, I'm also working on the CIP and basically making sure that they communicate the same information. And then at probably in June, right, is when we start the budget cycle.
I will do the call for budget with staff late June.
Okay, so yeah, that's primarily why we're focused on doing these things. And then also there is one grant that I'm in the process of applying for that has to have one of the projects that's on here. So unless I hear otherwise, I will just start working down the list of projects. So the first one is the parking garage. We've had numerous presentations and discussions about the parking garage, but that's a project that is currently under design. We anticipate having design completed by summer of 27, and then over the next several months after that, we'll go through the bidding process, and we'll most likely have a contractor in place early spring 28. Roughly $45 million is current what we're thinking, but I will say just received some updated cost estimates from the consultant early this morning. Haven't even opened the email yet, so I will tell you, the consultant keeps saying $40 million, but until he proves me wrong, I'm saying 45. I've been down this road a time or two. Next project on the list is artwork at the roundabout, just outside of town, and that's something that it's on our list. It's something we'll work on this year. Just we'll get to it.
I got Stevens spearheading that one.
Yeah.
Is the Brantley, is the year in the chart accurate for some of these projects?
So, and that's a good question. When I list the year, and if you guys would like to see it differently, that's the year of construction for me, and that's basically
Not completion.
Yeah, correct. So that's the way I spin it. It doesn't necessarily, in some cases, you actually start the project before the year. I mean, if you're designing, you start before then, but generally speaking, in construction is the higher dollar amount. So that's the dollar amount that is most critical to make sure you get proper or approximated a little
So
bit.
why do we have a year column, but then we also have years under expenditure columns? Are they supposed to be different? Like when the project starts versus when it's actually being constructed or anything? Is there a differentiation between the two?
If you would like to see it a different format, I have no ownership over it. I'm just basically, this is the way.
This is the same format we've been using.
Yeah, so I mean, I can certainly update it or change it if it makes it more, makes it clearer.
It does drive into how you enter it in the states too.
That's where, that's what I was gonna ask, is what's the format that the state has?
This is the state's format.
I thought, okay.
How come we keep pushing out the roundabout gateway feature? I thought we were doing that this year.
It won't get built till next year.
Yeah.
Got it.
Classic example, listed as a 27 construction project, but we're doing all the staff work in 26.
Is there any way to meet the state requirements for how we report on this, but also show kind of like pre-work design when the project start is happening versus when construction is happening? Is there a way to do that to better reflect some of the work that we're actually going to be kicking off this year?
Just don't go to that.
Yeah, I'll look into it. And I will even say for some of the future projects that we're applying grants for, I mean, a lot of times you get the money and it's 2.5 years is what the dollars are authorized for. And, basically you have that amount of time, but in that situation, you can do all the design work in 1 year, then construction over the next, say, 18 months, give or take. But I'll look into it because
Well, it's just like, I mean, you list the ski hill one as 27, but we're already starting that.
correct.
So again, I mean, the pre-work does happen before the year that you're putting in there.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's honestly, that's why I highlighted that one specifically, is because we have, I mean, design is essentially done. We have right-of-way approval from WashDOT. Basically, we need one form signed from WashDOT, and then we can actually start making offers to the residents, and start going through the temporary construction easement process. And that here we are, what month are we in? We're almost in June. So the right-of-way process will take 6 months. So functionally, we'll bid it out this winter and then start spring. So.
We're just trying to show progress, Sam. Is that we're trying to demonstrate that we're working on things that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess a little bit more transparency in all the work that's happening internally on all of these projects. Because right now, it doesn't show that we're doing anything in 2026, but we really are. And I know that we're moving this out, the 6-year plan starting in 27, but I don't know. I know you guys are doing a lot already.
I see his whiteboard.
Well, the information can be used internally versus state too. So comp could be hidden, but I mean, you probably have to enter this in manually, so I don't know how to read that fluent. So, I mean, having a column to demonstrate that work is actually being done because you guys are working hard.
I mean, Let me look into it. I have some ideas, but we could break it down by phase, PE, right away, construction, and then we could do years for each one, or, timeframes and durations, or.
But we are working on a 6 year.
Right.
That's at least 6 years, right? So it makes sense to become 7 year plan, or, well, we'll just do what we're doing, right? 6 year plan, 2027 to 2032.
You wanna see what we're doing now, you look at the last 6 year plan.
Brandon, my question on the Skigo thing was, how far are we gone from Skigo with that?
We're going from Evans Street to Pine Street.
Okay. Thanks.
And actually, that's one of the, I'm gonna clean that up so it's a little more clear on the project description. The next project, number 4, is Autumn Strasse Extension, Chumpstick to Titus Road Connector. So that's the entrance to the Autumn House. We're gonna basically take that road and connect it into Titus. And we think that's gonna be roughly $3.5 million. And although I did, and the mayor was there, gave a presentation to the CDTC a couple weeks ago, requesting money. They're actually going to give us a result sometime mid-June, I do believe. So we'll find out here soon whether we got the money or not. So hopefully, and then just to let you know, if for some reason we don't get those funds, there's a TIB grant opportunity that closes at the end of July, and I'll roll the same grant application into that program as well. So we're definitely looking to get that one completed as soon as possible.
This isn't got anything to do with the roundabout. This is just the street.
This is just a street connector.
Just the street connector.
I can give you a little bit of information. The roundabout at the end of that road is a county project, but they also presented it at the same
meeting, right?
Yeah.
Good. We're going for the same pot. It's big enough to do both. They just want to give it. Give it.
Absolutely. So,
Apparently I had a question. So for project 4, the connector, so 2027, that timeline is to start construction next year on that?
I'm going to hedge my bets slightly on this one, and it honestly depends on when I get the money. If I get the money sooner, I think I can get a design in place and potentially start construction late in 27. But that's only if we get the money relatively soon. With the CDTC, I'm not sure. A lot of times they'll sit there and say, "Okay, you have the money," but it takes several months or longer to get it. So it really depends on.
A lot of hoops with WashDOT.
Yeah,
TC runs all their money through WashDOT.
So what is project 10 then? Titus Road to Chumstick Highway street reconstruction multi-use path that starts in 2029.
Project 2. Oh, that's the roundabout.
That is the roundabout?
Yes.
That's the second roundabout,
Okay, because
not the North Road roundabout.
Yeah, that's the roundabout by First Street.
That's the one by the high school.
well, I was just confused because in the description it says Titus Road to Chumstick Highway street reconstruction multi-use path sidewalk.
It is, it's just further south.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the First Street.
Gotcha.
I will clean up the description.
Okay, I was sure.
It's more of a Pine Street Chumstick Highway connector
Yeah.
That-
than
that-
Titus Road.
Yeah, that's what, okay, that's what I was.
But from Titus Road, all the way over on Pine Street to connect with the Chumstick, this is like the phase 2 of Pine Street, and that's the section from Titus Road that never got reconstructed.
Okay.
And that's why it says Titus Road.
Okay. I just wanted to, make sure that those were the same project.
So this is where I'm gonna hopefully not confuse the council and the mayor.
Too late.
So after project 4, I'm going to next time submit another project in between 4 and 5. And I forgot, I actually meant to include it in this list, but did not. But it is a citywide maintenance and repair street project it's going to be TIB funded for next year. And there's no such thing as guaranteed money, but I have high hopes that we're gonna get $1.5 million for next year to functionally what happened is a couple years ago, we did the chip seal here citywide. It is.
Yeah. That was a huge hit.
Well, it is failing. It is not holding. It is not holding up at all. So the TID is actually I don't know if it was really presented, but it was actually kind of an experimental project.
Right. It was sold that way.
Yeah. So it didn't work. So they're actually going to bring money forward to give to the city to basically fix what should have fixed a couple years ago, and it didn't work out. Part of that discussion is, and I've had some discussions with their lead engineer that, there's a lot of parts of the city streets that you can put all the chip seals, the slurry seals, whatever you want on, but functionally the road has failed. And so we're talking about doing quite a bit of road repair, basically rebuilding stretches of road, and including drainage as part of this project as well. So that should have been included in this list. I don't know, quite honestly. It will be the next time you see it. And so out of the $1.5 million, I think the city's match is 10%, if I remember right. So what's that, 150 grand?
Okay.
Yeah.
Next project, number 5, is the Front Street Pedestrian Plaza. And we're still moving forward. Basically finished with the first phase of the contract that we have with Somas. I'm currently working with them on a scope and a fee to take what we've developed to date to 30% or beyond, depending on what segments we will end up doing. There's a big part of this is going to be construction phasing, trying to figure out how we want to approach this project. I mean, to be realistic, we're not going to build this over 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 construction years. I mean, it's going to take multiple years to get the funding and actually do the construction downtown. So that's going to be a big piece of this. That we're going to advance the design and try to answer some of the technical questions that were brought up during kind of the conceptual design process. Yes.
So for this western portion, is that from Highway 2 to which block? Like what is the phase of this western portion of Front Street?
How about I'm going to remove that? It's the project scope is from basically goose
We made
sauce.
a division, but since we're gonna break it up into chunks,
Yeah.
what section of Front Street is this $3 million project right now that you have?
Right now, I'm thinking $3 million is going to be probably the design and the planning and the scoping, and it's going to kind of what I'm thinking.
That'll
Right?
then break it up into the phases that will be in
Yeah,
total
well-
about $60 million.
Yeah, we'll have multiple, literally contracts or close to it, and that's what $3 million will be.
Okay.
I haven't gotten a scope and fee yet, but I'm hopefully that's a high number. We'll see. And there's other things in there as well. I mean, one of the things that I've asked Somas to do is do 100% design for the utility work that's required, so we could go ahead and start working on that sooner than later. And then the idea would be to potentially pick with, we can have discussion on which one, but pick a segment that we want to do first. I mean, do we want to do Royal Lady Plaza? Do we want to do the Front Street Park and that whole Front Street area first? And then we can advance those, which one we pick, we can advance that to 100% design documents as well. That way we're prepared once we have funding in place, when we can go ahead and start moving forward with those projects. Let's see, project number 6, Wardenstrasse Riverbend intersection improvement planning. This is a planning study. I think we'll probably end up doing it in 28, but everybody knows Safeway, Riverbend, that whole area, especially on busy weekends, traffic, people don't, it's wonky. I'd like to get a consultant on board to kind of help us come up with a solution on how we can start fixing some of those issues out there. It could be a roundabout. I doubt a light. That would make sense, but there's options that we can do out there, but we just have to go through the process.
You're thinking of a solution without touching the highway. That's highway, because it has to take.
Yeah, it would be behind the highway, correct?
Okay.
Next project on here is US 2 pedestrian safety improvements. We have applied for, you said $1.8 million for pedestrian upgrades along Highway 2. Mill Street, Ski Hill, even changing the timing of these pedestrian crossings here, making some improvements to the pedestrian crossing down by Cashmere Valley Bank, and even looking at doing some stuff further down by Safeway. So it's kind of covers the whole thing. Again, we submitted the grant, haven't heard anything back yet.
Right. Does that include drainage? Look at the drainage issues that we have at the corner of Ski Hill and 2.
No, but I'm glad you reminded me of that. That storm cloud.
Lake Enzian?
Yeah, it just Sorry. I need to do some investigative work on that. But that would, if there's an issue with it, we could address it during this project or that project. Where am I? Safety improvements. Next one's Evan Sherborne, sidewalk repairs. So right behind the gas station in that corner, going up by the Methodist Church. If anybody's walked through there recently, that whole sidewalk area in there is in terrible shape. There's no ADA access ramps. The road actually narrows down. I don't know, when you drive through there, it just feels kind of uncomfortable when you're going through that corner. It goes from like 32 feet to 23 feet back to 32 feet. It's a really odd arrangement for a street. So we're basically applying for grant money to go in and rectify those situations.
I'm glad to hear it. That sidewalk right in there is pathetic.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It really is.
I walk that lot and it's like, holy cow.
Yeah, it's something that needs to be addressed.
Right. Great to hear.
Next one, sidewalk addition, commercial streets, Schultz Street. So out by the Putt-Putt Golf Course over here, continuing sidewalk further out. Out of Schultz Street. Is that how you pronounce it? Schultz. And the next one is the roundabout at Pine Tree First Street and Chipstick Highway. And that one is going to be a fairly large project. Once we CDTC and discussions with their staff, usually they try to avoid funding projects over $2 or $3 million. And we're looking at a $6 million project, so we might have to potentially look at other options or combine it with maybe potentially TIB or other fundings. Or we can look at other grant opportunities as well.
They won't fund a portion of it?
Sure, they will.
Yeah.
It's just how do we pay for the rest? Right. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to build a half roundabout stuff. I've seen it done, but it's not something you typically want to do.
Right.
Next one, and see this, you might know this one as well. So Central Avenue right there by the old Osborne Elementary School, that sidewalk going through there is in pretty bad shape. Plus, the goal is to connect sidewalks from what's going to be eventually a community center to Pine Street. The project description actually talks about going up from Central, but the problem with that is there's a fairly steep hill going over there. So we probably need to think conceptually over the best way to get pedestrians in and out of the community center, and then also to back and forth through the schools. it might make more sense to slide that over to Orchard Street or Price Street maybe, but Price Street has a hill too, if I remember right. So, but it's basically we need to basically just continue the sidewalk continuity through the town, and especially in spots that are missing.
Orchard was where it was originally set to go, and then they said no. So they're butting down to the
We had money budgeted to do Orchard Street using TIB money. And actually, at that point in time, we were going to put all of our ARPA money into repairing the water line on Orchard before we then repaved the road. And then TIB came out and they said, we've seen one car in the last 2 hours. So we're not going to give you the money.
That's interesting. So
That's when you organize people to drive through.
the traffic volumes on Central aren't any higher. They're actually pretty low.
I know.
Yeah, but okay. I'll talk to the new engineer.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Walkholder might have some history on that.
Okay. How am I doing on time?
We're over.
We're over.
Okay.
Eat it up.
Succinctness. But we did 27 and 28, which was critical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For coming years.
The next ones are just sidewalk improvements. Out by Safeway, out by Short Street. Actually, Short Street's a street rehab because a stretch of residential road is actually in really bad shape out that way. Then Mill Street and Mine Street, some improvements out there. That road's pretty bumpy and beat up and needs some tender love and care. Then also the projects 15 and 16 are more programmatic, is just so we want to start having funds and focus on doing street and sidewalk repairs citywide. Go in there and kind of identify things, have our contractors or internal staff actually start making, replacing sidewalk panels and ADA curb ramps and so forth. The last two are kind of further out in the future.
We might not even do it.
Just have it there because it was put in the state's transportation.
And if I may,
Yeah.
just 2 seconds, I just want to share this with everybody. So over the last couple of weeks, we've been doing CCTV inspections of most of the city's sewer system. We found a 12-inch diameter rock and a 15-inch diameter pipe.
Wow.
Where was that?
Down by the sewer plant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Near the end, huh?
Yeah.
Made it all the way
All
down.
the sewer was flowing around that 3-inch.
Yeah. So that's a project will be coming shortly.
Probably, yeah, like
Holy crap.
12-inch and a 15-inch.
Right.
That has to be
Just a little bit of a blockage.
Yeah. I just thought that
Dick.
Yeah.
everybody would like to hear that.
More language.
There's the old rock.
And you haven't had more issues or something like that? I mean, like,
Little kitty corner?
Surprisingly, there hasn't been any real blockages. I mean, it's been flowing well enough. I mean, but, I don't know.
wow.
I can't see over
I know.
You guys found it because of all your scanning, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we've identified no more holes in the sewer line anywhere, which is great news. We have found a couple places where the sewer line has there's some bellies, which we'll probably need to go repair at some point in time. But so far, haven't really found any catastrophic issues other than this rock, which we're going to have to dig out essentially. All right.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Brantley.
Thank you, Brantley.
Thank you. And now we'll go to our fuels reduction program potential.
Sorry for taking your time.
Oh, no problem. I don't know, Sylvie, you can jump in here whenever need be. But this was historically the home hardening program. We talked about it was last year, right? Trying to shift those over to, instead of, treating, one home or 2 homes a year here and there, to use the money for fuels reduction on public properties throughout the city where we felt it could make a difference, kind of the whole community could benefit from it. through that, we started planning. Cody's here. We kind of met with John Jones with the Parks Department and started the conversation. And then everything happened in December. So when we met in the spring, the first thing that came into mind was looking at Blackbird Island. To kind of give you a little history on Blackbird Island, it's a response challenge for us because of access, right? We cannot drive any of our brush trucks across the bridges. We do have backpack pumps. We have a UTV that we can get out there to carry some equipment and stuff. But we're kind of limited on our usual equipment that we use for initial attack. We've been lucky in the past when we've had somewhat larger fires there. The hand crew was available from the Ranger District. 20-person hand crew really helped make the difference. But normally for us, because it's a riparian area, because we get a lot of it's a very different ecosystem than up on the hillsides. It's usually sort of kind of low on our priority list for fire danger, but we have had a pretty regular history of arson on Blackbird Island. People just, I don't know what it is. They're just walking through there and decide I'm gonna take a lighter and I'm gonna start a little fire here and there. Or I'll start a whole line of fires and we'll chase them for the rest of the day. So that kind of gives some background on the program and some background on kind of why normally we're not super worried about Blackbird Island. As we look through the prescription, 1, 2, and 3, that is, I'm not going to say cookie cutter, but it is sort of your general recommendations that we would make around someone's home, in the area surrounding their property. And they are somewhat standard. This is what we try to do when we go out and do fuels reduction work at the parcel level. But the big one here and what the biggest challenge is number 4. So what, again, we normally aren't as worried about Blackbird Island. It needs 1, 2, and 3. It's something to aspire to. But right now, I think the more clear and present danger is the massive, we call them jackpots. It's just a mass of biomass, and it's all different kinds of, it's pine, it's fir, it's the cottonwoods trees from down on Blackbird Island. But when the flood came through, it took massive amounts of biomass and just deposited them on Blackbird Island in huge, some of them are gnarly piles. And so for a lot of this, it's, you'll see, he talks about on the next page about utilizing mulchers, utilizing masticators, right? A lot of this will need to be, there'll need to be some type of machine work done. But the big point is that we need to remove those jackpots somehow. And there's been some work done so far. I went for a run this morning. I know around the pump house, that was an absolute jumble. And I'm assuming the Parks Department who did
volunteers.
that. Volunteers did that? Wow. Where did they put it?
I can't tell you that the city was even informed that the work was happening.
Fair enough. Well, whoever did that, excellent work, because that was an absolute nightmare. It's almost, I'm not going to ask any more questions. We're going to move on past that and just be thankful that that occurred. So that work looked pretty good right there at the pump and around the pond, but these jackpots still kind of exist throughout the island, some of them in somewhat less accessible places than that. I know there's been some Cascadia Conservation District wanted to do some kiln burning. There's been discussion about piles. I know that smoke in the city, you can burn these with a permit from the Department of Ecology because it's storm debris. I know that there's some reticence for that due to the smoke. When we would want to burn that, it's probably not going to be a great time when people are going to want to see that. And then the third and fourth prospect of that is chipping, that we can help out with that, assisting the city with their efforts. I've been told we can get it out there on the bridge from Enchantment, slightly larger, and we should be able to get that onto the island. That's where they get their equipment in. The masticator, the mulcher, all of these are ideas, and we should do all of them. If Cascadia has money, they're able to come in with the kilns. we should take them up on that. That will be one small fraction of the problem. You know, what we can get into piles and what it makes sense to burn, keeping that on the table as an option, we should do. And then as far as the city and the money, as we're trying to figure out what can we do right now, our recommendation would be to utilize that money to essentially hire, you have some equipment that would be helpful, but the mulcher and the masticator to pull some of this stuff apart, get it broken down. We'll chip what we can, but a lot of it is pretty nasty debris that wouldn't work real well in the chipper. It would just clog it up and cause us problems. But kind of separating what we can, mulching what we can, masticating what we can, kiln burning what we can, and then maybe we pile burn the rest. But the big threat of these piles that doesn't normally exist on Blackbird Island is, again, it's a riparian area. It's normally higher humidity. The fires that we get there, even in the heat of summer, we've had them in August, and they're slow moving. You know, we catch it at a quarter acre, even when we have to do it, you know, kind of by hand, kind of what you used to have to do, Zeke. But yeah, and but with these huge jackpots, and the reason that they have their own name and we talk about jackpots is that there's a lot of heavy fuels in them. There's a lot of large, I mean, we're, you know, 12-inch, 20-inch, 36-inch diameter pieces of trees in there, and mixed in with all sorts of smaller things. And when it's elevated, it's up off the ground. Once it dries out later in the summer, if those piles ignite, those piles are what are going to throw firebrands. They're what's going to cause spot fires. And again, that's sort of a thing that didn't necessarily exist. The fires that we saw on Blackbird didn't throw a lot of spots. We didn't have an issue with that. But if some of these piles that I've seen out there, if that catches on fire, it is going to be very difficult. We're going to be leaning pretty heavily on aviation on Blackbird Island to try to get those extinguished. And even that is going to be difficult. You get 1,000-hour, 10,000-hour fuels burning, all of a sudden, it's going to spot at other spots on the island. It could potentially catch other jackpots on fire. And so that's why it kind of creates that risk. Normally, Blackbird Island is probably not where, you know, and I'm saying Blackbird, but this also exists, not so much I didn't see as much in Waterfront, but it exists some in Enchantment Park as well. You know, normally these riparian areas, they're not your greatest fire risk because of the higher humidity, because of the different types of species that grow there that aren't quite as susceptible. But the storm has sort of created this new hazard. And it's really not going to go away. It's just going to dry out this summer. It'll get wet again with snow and everything. But if we're waiting on like decomposing and nature to take its course, it's going to exist for a decade. And I just don't, you know, I don't think anybody really wants to roll the dice on that one. So again, our recommendation in the fire district is willing to kind of jump in and help wherever we can. You know, maybe some work days, try to get some stuff. If we get some piles that we can chip, try to get in there and do some chipping. But trying to utilize that money that was set aside normally for that, the fuels program towards renting heavy equipment, and potentially if the parks department can run it, that would be awesome. If you need to spend some of it on hiring an operator to come in with equipment and do it, I think that's going to be your best bang for your buck. To just try and get some of those piles broken down. You know, we can go out. We're available to go out again and look at a closer level to those piles and things and say, okay, let's try to start here. This one's in the worst spot for us to get to. These are the bigger access problems, and try to prioritize that because, again, it's a pretty big problem. I'm absolutely shocked that the magic that occurred there at the pump house, just because of the sheer size of some of that stuff. Again, we're just thankful that happened, and we're not going to worry too much about how it happened, except to say that if that was done by hand, we're going to hire those guys. If we could, we don't want to. If they honestly came forward and we didn't know, you know, we're going to work something out, but we don't want to get anybody in trouble because that was excellent work. And they knew what they were doing too. It looks great in those spots now. There's still a little bit of stuff on the ground, but nothing like it was. If that pile that was up against the pump house would have gone up, I mean, it's going to, if we get a bad wind coming out of the southeast, I mean, it could still go across the river. No problem. You get something that big burning. To go across the river, East Leavenworth Road, But my biggest concern would be any type of something weird, a swirling wind, something coming out of the south, and Front Street's right there. And we just, we have contingency plans to deal with fire brands falling on Front Street, but it's not something I really want to deal with. So in this case, I think that it's the best use of that pool of funds to try to throw it at that kind of clear and present danger to the downtown core. It's just very close to kind of everything that the city holds dear. And I mean, if you live around here, right, it's Front Street, like that, we don't want to have that happen. So, and again, I know that the pond is really important to a lot of people, and so I'm sure that helped push a lot of it in there. But I'm sure more volunteer work would not hurt anything. But again, the fire district's there to coordinate the parks as we're doing this to try to team up on this thing and get as much done as we can this year, and then we'll work on it again next year and just continue to try to mitigate that and get the problem to a lesser and lesser point to where we can go back to, for lack of a better way to put it, kind of taking like, okay, yeah, Blackbird, again, 1, 2, and 3, that's what you do to beautify it. That's what you do to really firewise that space. But there's other places we could do work that we will probably prioritize ahead of this if it were not for the storms in December and kind of what that flood did to the island.
The question for you.
Yes, sir.
So the biggest priority is jackpots, right?
Yes.
Because I think that's important. You said that items 1, 2, and 3 are what you usually do for parcels and around homes.
Yes.
So there's a lot of fuel out down there that needs to be addressed, but Blackbird Island is not a parcel. So I would think before we do extreme devegetation, I would like to probably see some type of standards, not just for home there. It's not home now. It's a forest. It's where people enjoy it. So, I mean, clearing everything up 10 feet high is so I would like to get some thought on in the future how you address 1, 2, and 3. It's not as extreme as a home. There are no homes there, but there's fuel.
And that comes from the controlling the fire spread, kind of controlling the fire behavior. Those are sort of the tools we look to keep the fire from, because the fires start usually near the footpath.
I try to throw my flags higher so they don't start at the footpath.
But again, I think normally there's a lot of other places we would apply these efforts before we went to Blackbird. But ultimately, like for the Parks Department, who we wrote this for, John, ultimately, like that's what they would want to look at, and that is worth the discussion, aesthetics and things like that.
Yeah.
But it is very difficult because of the access issues to get out there and find it.
And this aesthetics of Blackbird need to be, I think, maintained, but also control the fire hazard. I don't want to see go down there. There's no vegetation whatsoever.
Right.
We go down there for being in nature.
And there's a balance, right? Like, I totally agree that you do want to balance those things, especially in a park like that.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
You guys get 50, is it 50,000 you get to work with?
Well,
That's what
up
we
to you
had
guys.
in the budget. It was the $50,000 home hardening grant program.
So with what you've got with 50,000, can you get much done with masticator? I mean, like, is that going to go very far?
It's not going to go all the way for sure.
Right.
I think that they can do a lot of good at breaking a lot of it up and minimizing it. I think if they're able to also, like, along with some of the equipment the city already has, get in there with the backhoe, move stuff around, like kind of break it up, and then mulch some of it or masticate some of it. I think you can put a dent in it. I mean, I think it will be. I think it's worthwhile. I don't think it's going to be like, oh, it's just a drop in the bucket. But you're not gonna.
Right.
We don't have time, even if you threw a whole bucket of money at it. I don't think we have time to get it all done in one season. But I think it's a worthwhile endeavor. I think it's enough to make a difference.
Okay.
When do you think you'll get this done?
Well, ultimately, that falls back on
Us hiring piece of equipment.
essentially, yeah. And we can work with John and kind of be there to help with the stuff that can be done by hand, and again, help with chipping. And then we don't have time to do any burning this year, but that discussion can come in for next spring. Probably the next fall isn't probably going to be that great either, considering the way the fall's gone the last couple of years. But I think we continue the conversation. And this is sort of what we can do right now. You're sort of hamstrung a little bit with the machine work right now, just because of the breadth and size of a lot of the fuels in these piles that are. It's a lot of it's not possible. That's kind of how I was like, oh, how did they move that? It's like it's not possible to be moved.
An excavator can't get over that bridge, can it?
How do they do that? I mean, I don't know. They do the work on the truck.
What they did around the pump house was an excavator.
Had a mini.
Yeah.
Be pretty small. That's the theory you've heard.
But there are mulchers and masticators that can go on smaller excavators that are available.
Don't some more FEMA claim funds cover this too? You need to be claiming again to get for Blackbird Island and.
There is potential, so I had the initial call today
Yeah.
with them, and they're pushing us really hard to finalize costs. And they're telling us they want stuff done in 21 days, and I'm going. So
You want
it's.
the work done in 21 days, or?
To some extent, Annie scheduled another appointment with them next week, so we'll go down the rabbit hole of damages and where we're at and how it's going to pan out. FEMA, as you know, can last years
Yep, exactly.
before we actually finalize and settle. But in the meantime, the city has to pay all the bills up front.
Yeah.
Which we are.
Yeah.
We're about 100K in at this point.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
And I apologize. I don't know if I can talk about this right now. I've been out of the country for the last 2 weeks. It's my first day back, so I did not have a public safety report. So
Oh,
we're
I
gonna.
scheduled this on a second meeting, so you can roll right on. School like that.
Yeah,
I did not have
15
time
minutes
to-
to write it up, so.
Listen, we'll count this.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So things are getting drier.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only update right now.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
I have something really quick to add to the future
Okay,
agenda.
go ahead.
As chairman of the PRSA, I was asked by UVAP, and I'm sorry, I wasn't sure the proper process. I wasn't sure if I should email Andrea to add this to this meeting, or if we could talk about it in the next meeting, but I was wondering if the council would entertain, rolling over the money that we were gonna get the UVAP last year for Splash Bash, and since there was no Splash Bash last year, if we would, for giving them the money this year.
For their June event. Do I recall correctly? It was $2,000 last year? Up to $2,000?
2 or 2,500, I don't remember.
I can get the minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no more than 3. It was like 2 or 2,500, I think.
Wait, are you saying roll that over like they need $4,000 or they just?
No, they just never
We
They
didn't-
spent
just
it.
spent it this year that they didn't spend last
Yeah.
year.
I got you. Yeah, I just want to be clear.
Roll the money from last year over this year. Because we didn't.
Add that as an agenda item to the 7 o'clock meeting.
Do you have to for that small amount?
No.
No.
As long as you guys are in consensus, we're fine. We have a.
We're fine. We've told other.
So the party's in like a couple of weeks. They didn't ask for any money this year?
This is I'm asking now.
No, they asked, so.
Travis, I did remind them that they need to go through the Leavenworth Fund in the
Yes.
future.
All right, let's take a brief break. And we'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah, so it's she started, so was it for her?
Okay, 8:26 of the Leavenworth City Council order stand for pledge of allegiance. Okay, you want to start?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Lynn Strand.
Ann Hester.
Steve Reister,
Shane Barrett.
Mike Bedard,
Rob.
Travis McMaster.
All right. Everyone here Before we do the consent agenda, we've got one question for you. The only item on the consent agenda, we set a public hearing for June 9th. Right now, if you want to go forward with that, that is the only agenda item that we have. There is no action items other than that public hearing. So we were putting it out there that it's up to you guys. If you want to meet, you can meet for that, but otherwise we could just move that to the end of the month.
Yep.
Move it to the end.
Would we still have study session or, just cancel?
Prefer to cancel the whole thing, we're gonna cancel it.
Yeah, rather than come up for that.
As long as we can guarantee that we don't have some random night, like 4-hour city council meeting at some point the rest of the year, because we didn't have a meeting.
Currently, most of the items are consent agenda items that would move forward. But this public hearing was one, and the tip public hearing is normally very short.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not concerned about the public hearing, but sometimes we stockpile the city council meetings, and I would rather have this meeting if we're gonna have to keep us from having a 4-hour city council meeting.
I cannot promise that that will not be the result, but the only thing we have for you for that meeting would be the public hearing, and the tip, generally speaking, doesn't get a lot of public comment. So if that's the only thing if that's the only can we're kicking down the road, we should only be kicking 10 or 15 minutes worth of time down.
Yeah, there's no presentations or anything other than public safety reports on the 23rd.
And then what about study session?
So the only thing with study session, the chamber generally gives an update at that first meeting, so we would just not have that. And everything else can be moved.
I move to approve the consent agenda with exception of line item 5, changing the date to the second city council meeting in June.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Mike, seconded by Zeke and others. All in favor, let me see your hands. Passes unanimously. Before we go on, we're reminded that here we're respectful of each other. We acknowledge that it's okay for us to disagree. Prior to making comments, you must be recognized by the chair and address the council and staff as a whole, not individuals. Keep your comments focused on topics that are being discussed at the time, except if you're here to make comments on items not on the agenda, which is the first thing that we do right now. And I understand maybe that we've got somebody here to make comments. So if you want to come forward and
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Stuart Anderson. You've probably been getting some emails from me. I'm with FEMA, the Intergovernmental Affairs Specialist assigned to this area and all of King County and all of Monash County. So the easiest way to get the information out is what you guys have been seeing. I brought a few updated numbers for you. As of they break it down for registrations of survivors by zip code. Okay, they don't break it down per town or, they do, I believe, per county, not per town or city within those jurisdictions. So in this particular area, there's been 51 folks that have registered, 51 households that have registered. And that there's been $262,841 distributed to assist folks that had damages. And that's just this area. Statewide, there's been 765 registrations or household registrations, and just over 7 million have been distributed in funds. Big number I want to talk to you about is June 10th. because that is the deadline for survivors to register with FEMA. They can register the 800 number. They can download a FEMA app on their phone and register that way, or they can get on the internet and register that way. Any of those ways, or visit like you guys had a disaster assistance center here. There's others elsewhere in the state. I don't think, I might be wrong, but I don't think they're going to have another one here. I might have to look at that. I'll confirm that. If there is, I'll let you know if there's one being planned, or what we call a pop-up. If there's sometimes a special event where we'll send folks for several hours, people come in, ask questions, or get registered. So, and I thank the council for paying attention. And by that, I mean accepting the emails, passing them on to the proper person. I did get an email from, is it Kara? Reference a concerned citizen on folks not getting the word. I did receive an email from a reporter from the Leavenworth Echo.
Yeah.
That I gave to our media relations person, as well as the regional FEMA office news desk, to get the questions that she needed so they can get whatever she wanted done so she can get that out to the public. So kudos to whoever told her, or him. I don't, is it her?
Taylor, yeah, Taylor.
Taylor called Russell.
Okay, her. Anyway, for reaching out, getting a hold of us to help get the word out, and we appreciate you folks for doing the same. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments they want to make? Is there any online?
Just Andrea.
Oh, Andrea, shame on you.
Yeah, what? She's texting. Just Andrea.
Maybe she wants to make a comment.
Sorry.
How'd it go, Andrea?
Andrew just got finished singing at Carnegie Hall.
Okay.
Right.
She couldn't stop herself from zooming in to make sure that the meeting went okay.
Shame.
I don't know if she doesn't trust my technological.
She's letting me know that there's some echoiness occasionally on the owl, but only when multiple people are talking over
Just like Travis said.
Okay. Next item, I'm going to read a proclamation. We've done this for a number of years now for Pride Month, and I'm going to do it with pride because I think it's more needed now more than ever to just assert that we are a place that welcomes all, and we will hang a pride banner out of the City Hall again during June. But this is a proclamation to declare and celebrate the National Commemorative Month of June as LGBTQ+ Pride Month. Whereas the City of Leavenworth City Council considers it in the best public interest to support inclusion and diversity, and whereas the federal government has established national commemorative months, including June, as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ+ Pride Month, and whereas the struggle for the LGBTQ+ community for basic civil and human rights continues to provide inspiration to all, and whereas every individual is equal before and under the law and has a right to equal protection and equal benefit of the law without discrimination, now therefore be it proclaimed by the mayor and city of Leavenworth the month of June as LGBTQ+ Pride Month. The City of Leavenworth encourages everyone to eliminate prejudice everywhere it exists, respect the rights of all people, and to celebrate diversity in our city. Signed this 26th day of May, 2026. That will be, again, we will continue that in June. Now we've got our public safety report, which we already had, Mike's public safety report. So now we're get Randy's. Randy's here in person.
How many more
Sure,
service
yeah,
days left, Randy?
2 months from today is my last working day.
All right.
Just around the corner.
Just around the corner. But who's counting?
Regular basis.
Yeah, I know, regular.
And my wife, she likes to brag that she's got less days. She has till the middle of June. Um, so we did. I'll start with some other stuff than I would usually do. There were some campers yesterday, I believe, just over here behind Kashmir Valley Bank or the post office, somewhere in that area, that somebody set up a camper. One of my guys went by. He had to call me. I had to cover up Chelan yesterday. He asked about citing the person. So he had leveled the trailer. We're obviously in the trailer. The dogs would bark in the trailer. They'd answer, but not open the door. So he went ahead and wrote them a nice ticket for the camping in the city limits. I believe it was 11 worth of. I don't have hours for you this month. Let me jump over. It's the corporal. The new corporal's been named. It's Corporal Bigger. He's been with us quite a while. He wasn't able to make it tonight. I believe he'll be here for the June meeting. He'll be moving from graveyard to the shift I work the middle of July and working with me directly for a couple weeks. And hopefully he'll make that June meeting, and then we'll meet admin and marriage. Still be sometime in that last two weeks of my time. The reason I don't have hours for you is, most of you may know, is the county got hacked sometime before, a few days ago. They found out over the weekend. We found out after going nearly paperless and dependent on computers, our entire system is down. From the computers to infractions to email, the phone system at the courthouse.
Is that just the sheriff and?
It's the entire county.
Entire county.
Wow.
All of the county departments.
Yeah, this is posted.
So it was fun going back to the 1900s.
I have so many questions.
Yeah.
I know you can't answer them.
Pardon me.
I said I have so many questions, but I know you can't answer them. So.
You can ask, but I either won't or can't. You're probably correct. But if you have someone.
Oh no, it's okay. It's more
Way
of
over my head.
an IT question, just in general.
You said IT, so we know it's over my head.
Just as a general Chelan County citizen, I'm so curious why things weren't better siloed from a security position and the whole county had to be shut down. Just out of curiosity.
That's been asked a lot. Unanswered, but asked a lot.
I'm sure eventually we'll find out.
I mean, we were literally warned to now start watching our accounts.
Yes.
Our social security numbers.
Oh yeah, who knows how deep the hack went?
They have everything.
Yeah.
We were told they'll have to hand do the payroll somehow. So when several of us have asked if we're going to get paid on time. So far, the answer's been we don't know.
That's unfortunate.
You know, some of those kids can't go without a paycheck. So it should be fun.
Procedurally, I mean, we joke about breaking out the pencil and paper again, but I mean, are you set up? Do you have your old downtime procedures where you can bust out writing your reports, and then is it going to have to be digitized and then put back in the computer system when everything's back up online? Is that process still TBD?
So literally this afternoon, We got, we did have some old citation books. Or felonies we could always write. They've always been handwritten on what we call a warrantless form. So the felonies can be written, they always could be. The problem is mandatory arrests, DUIs, assault for DVs, stuff like that. The most common stuff, and the stuff that we're state mandated to cite and or book in a certain amount of time. We did get some of the old handwrite citations out and to the substations and the old school handwritten PC, probable cause forms, so that they can be held in the jail. So then they'll be taking lots of very good notes so that they can go in and write the full reports at a later time. And they did, my squad did actually make what ended up being a felony arrest down in Cashmere this afternoon. So he had to go write a handwritten probable cause form. We look up on his phone for the spelling and all that fun stuff that we haven't had to do for a long time.
Wow.
You can't even look up the people and see if they have current.
We can run it. Rivercom is able to, they're slightly affected. What we call Spillman is slightly affected for them, but they can run people through a different system that's used when Spillman does go down for maintenance and things on a regular basis. We were told this may take 10 days.
Oh, yeah.
So it could be longer. So us are gonna take the next 10 days off.
Did they identify who anyone claim
It's
responsibility here?
probably out of country.
Is there a ransom?
Well, that's the next news I was gonna get to you all.
How much are you raising our rates now?
Yeah, right.
Well, there are 4 contract cities. Unfortunately for you all, Chelan and Leavenworth are the deepest pockets. So we $200K out of each of you. Casper and Annie are just gonna have to come up with 50 each. So no, that's literally a joke. I don't know what a ransom is, but you know me, I gotta throw a joke in here somewhere. I worked on that one all day.
We appreciate that.
I'm sure you got this line.
You hand wrote it and edited
He didn't have an eraser.
In cursive, I'm old enough to write in cursive. Wow. Any questions? I'm sure there'll be more come out about all of that fun stuff. Sure. But,
You guys have in-house IT, right?
yeah, several of them.
Yeah.
It's all Jeff's fault.
Well, that was the rumor going around all day, was who opened what email? Or went to what site? Yeah. No, I hope it's something like that. But it's causing quite the trouble not being able to. I mean, we can still kind of see some of the information on our phones. We have what's called I Spy, so we can still pull up some of the call. It just doesn't have everything, and then obviously we can't write our notes or reports or anything on that. So,
All right.
I've got a question for Randy. I'm not sure to answer this. So when you have houses that you suspect very well that are dealing meth, right? And then those guys get removed, the house goes up for sale. They have any responsibility to, maybe it's more of a city question though. You guys know whether you have pretty good staff, I think, on this house, because you guys showed up there a few times. Is there any responsibility of the owner to at least give some precaution to possible buyers of real estate agent that this is possibly contaminated? Or is there any policy out there that you're aware of? I'm sure it happens, but I didn't know what the sheriffs did with it, or.
I'm not sure this part, yeah. That would be more of a real estate agent question, I think, or maybe code enforcement. As far as I know, there's nothing that we do to make them clean it up, but it would sound reasonable.
Right. I would just think you guys would have the evidence.
Pardon me?
You'd be aware of the evidence. You could say, well, yeah, these were dealers. We're very sure of that. I mean, I don't know if things were fabricated there. I just pretty 100% possibility that the thing was definitely dealt. It was dealt there, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume that the owner is required to notify the agent, and that they should probably have to do some type of a test to see if there has to be
That's what I
some type of a statement.
Right. Just the assessment of the determine. Okay.
Yeah, I've never heard of it coming through the sheriff's office.
Okay. All right.
But then again, we've only had our in-house code enforcement for about 3 or 4 years now. They've done a great job of getting on some problem places, getting them cleaned up, things like that.
Okay.
Any technical question? You guys didn't have any heinous calls or anything over the weekend with the Memorial weekend, or was it any busier than normal or less busy for you guys?
I was off for the weekend. Chelan got that designation of the shooting. 14-year-old local. It wasn't his first. Because he's been caught and that's being dealt with. Out here, I think it was just numbers, lots of people. There was a search and rescue this morning, and I think probably one last night. There's a gentleman that a couple people have been getting called in, suspicious out here. I noticed a gentleman on my way here. It's hard to tell. I mean, he didn't necessarily look homeless, but it kind of going around through the pine cones out in front of the Forest Service.
Got a bad accident and stuff.
Oh yeah, the bad accidents up there. A couple of those now. There was another one today up there, and then of course the Coles Corner fatality from the other day. I think Life Flight was called in for today's. Those are both state patrol. And those. Had a young man the Monday of Memorial Day itself, highly intoxicated inside Safeway. Much younger than I am.
Our Safeway, or?
Yeah. Decided to grab a couple buzz balls, not pay for them, and sit at the Starbucks hammered and drink them. So I don't call for backup very often, but I called within about 30 seconds of seeing this kid, especially the grin he gave me. And I said, "Hey, we gotta go." He looked at me like, "It's gonna be fun, old man." And luckily Nigel got to me pretty quick, a couple more guys, and it's all roided out. I don't even have a way to check to see if he's still in the jail now outside of calling him, because all the systems are down, and their system's down now too. It's causing a lot. This hack's causing a lot of hate. Other than that, it was really fairly smooth. Yes, sir.
The analog question should be easier. Not too long ago, there was a group of folks that we all went down and cleaned up underneath the bridge, the Highway 2 bridge, the river there. I ran by there today, and it's as bad as it was.
Crashed again.
And I wonder, what efforts are we, anything that's going on to try and find a more suitable place for this person to live, or I don't know, it's a tough problem, I know, but what kind of actions are we having right now?
So there is stuff like camping on the right of way. I would assume that bridge is state's.
Yep.
So contacting the state, see if they'll do something. Possibly, I don't know if you could get them to finish it off. Persons are just gonna move somewhere else. Unfortunately, we've talked several times in our meetings that the homeless deal is really difficult. It's supposed to not be a crime. There are things we can write them for camping in the right of way, et cetera, et cetera. But if somebody doesn't have anything, writing them $1,000 ticket is just writing them $1,000 ticket that may eventually end up in a warrant. Then I just keep that type of stuff. I call it a pocket warrant. And when they act up and are causing actual trouble, which they do occasionally, then I have something to pull out and say, "Good, you're going to jail at least. Quit causing problems right now." It's difficult because I think there's some state laws about you have to have open, available housing for them. And what we've discussed is that's kind of a double-edged sword. You don't have it. It's not fair to just send them off, even though other places do bus them into Wenatchee and train them in and all that kind of good stuff. That's not fair to the other city you're sending them to without especially at least offering to contribute to their costs of providing that housing so they can try and do something about it. The double edge of that is if Leavenworth was to get some housing, it's the flower that's going to attract them, and they're going to, if you start providing, I think that was probably Wenatchee's problem. 30 years ago, we knew the few homeless people there were. They didn't cause much problems, et cetera, et cetera. The last 15, it's gone crazy, mostly because people were shipping them to Wenatchee saying, "Oh, they got great services," which they did. But then they get overstrained. I'm not exactly sure what happened with the one that was down by BNSF's headquarters there in Wenatchee, the lighthouse. I think that one got shut down. I'm not sure why, what all caused that. But that's part of the problem with having you set stuff up is then it will be an attraction and there'll be more and you'll have to keep growing that. So that's something for you all to look into and decide, do the research on the state laws to figure out what you have to do to be able to enforce it. My understanding is we have to have open, available housing. Saying bus will take you to Wenatchee isn't the proper answer, in my opinion. Unfortunately, yes, you are getting more and more, but consider yourself lucky because it is not bad compared to some of the other places. More questions?
Yeah, when's your retirement party?
At the office, I think he said possibly the Thursday before the 26th. So it's the 23rd-ish maybe? Or to buy me a beer and a cigar down at the River House.
Yeah, right.
It's the River House.
The cigar bar. Sorry, I used to own it. It's not a plug for myself. I'm sold twice since then. Any other questions? No?
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. We will move into our resolutions, ordinances, orders, and other business with number 10, action resolution 10, 2026. And India, I think you're taking this.
Yes, I will. So as Mayor said, Resolution 10/2026 is the Fleeger sewer exemption. I know this has been brought to you a few times, but this is the last step in the process, is formalizing this sewer connection by resolution. And I'm available if you have any more questions.
Leavenworth City Council moves to approve resolution 10/2026, Fleeger sewer exemption.
Second.
All right, moved and then seconded. Any other questions? All in favor, let me see your hands.
Travis.
See, Travis, you got your hand raised?
He said yes.
Yes, no,
I guess he's just
some.
saying.
Are you here, Travis?
He abstains. Sure. And he votes present. You know what he's doing? He's present.
He might have had to step away. He texted me and told me that
Oh,
he woke up in the middle of the night with
oh, okay. Well, we'll go.
So he texted me and he said, when I go off screen, it's because I have to step away and take care of
Okay.
something.
All right.
They feel
So-
fine, Travis.
Sorry,
I
Travis.
feel bad for him.
Yeah. Okay, well, 6-0 is good enough. With one, we don't know. We don't know. A bid award, and this is also Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Parking sensors.
No, they got
Oh,
scrapped.
Scrap. Oh, I was like, what are you talking about? So yeah, this is the 2026 on-call dust abatement contract. We advertised the contractors, received one bid from Lyman Dust Control. We're planning to do dust abatement at 5 parking lots this year. I think previously we had done 4. This year we're planning to add the cemetery roads on this as well. So the Public Works campus, waterfront park parking lot, the East Leavenworth boat launch, Icicle Bridge put in, and then the cemetery is the 5th. We have up to 2 applications in all these locations, but we do have flexibility. So depending on conditions, to apply or not apply. And then one of the other things that comes up in that determination, if we're going to apply, is just what time of year is it, and what does the user group look like at that time. So obviously, waterfront park is one that's really hard to do before Labor Day. We will be doing it this year because this is later, so it will be getting applied. They don't know what our messaging has been on that. Sorry, I'm still out of the loop on something.
We haven't missed anything.
We haven't messaged anything. Okay. But we'll figure out when to get that application in soon, and then we'll make a determination on later here for Labor Day again as well.
How about Leavenworth City Council moves to accept the bid and authorize the mayor to execute the contract Lyman Dust Control Inc. for the 2026 on-call dust abatement project, the amount of $76,827.98, including Washington State sales.
Second.
Moved by Rob, seconded by Ann. Any other questions? Welcome.
But I have a
back,
question for
Travis.
Andy really quickly. Sort of related to this with regard to dust abatement. How often do we do dust abatement on our undeveloped, like dirt alleyways in the city?
That's a good question.
Because historically, the city has put down some sort of dust abatement solution, but it hasn't been on a regular schedule. It was like the stinky stuff that they put down. I don't know what it's called.
It's called.
Do you know what I'm talking about though?
Yeah,
It's different than the dust abatement
It's
spray.
like the lithium sulfate,
Probably.
like
Yeah.
the same stuff we put in the parking lots before, or is it something different?
I'm not sure. I just remember historically the city did it on a kind of irregular basis. I was just curious if we have any plan with current administration to do anything in the alleyways in the residential districts.
We don't currently have anything planned, and to my knowledge, since I've been here, we haven't done that, so I think. I've been
It's
here
been a while because I haven't seen anything on the alley between commercial. Yeah, half that alley got dirt. They used to years ago.
Yeah, when I lived on Ash Street, it was like every other year that Herb did something, but it's been a while. And I guess I kind of wanted to refresh the conversation just about alleys specifically since we own them.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to look at how they set this up, if that could be added onto this contract, if that's something we did want to move forward with, and then I don't have a good feel for what the cost of that would be.
Yeah.
Like the size of that, but I can happily look into that and then, bring that back to the council.
Yeah, and maybe it can be a part of like a larger conversation about long-term
Longer term.
something with our alleys rather than just continue to let them deteriorate.
I think
Yeah.
homes owned alleys should have their own LIDs to take care of the maintenance. They really.
Well, that could be
they
one of the
really
talking points,
benefit
but
But we could basically have that conversation, is what, you'd like to just have a conversation about alley and alley maintenance.
yeah, because they're kind of just this like void right now.
I usually reserve time like on each study session once a month for a public works topic, so I could happily add that in as another public works topic to talk about a study session if that'd be cool. Yeah, that's great. And
The last conversation we had about alleys was shortly after I got here, where we had a $1.7 million cost estimate for paving all of the alleys. And then that got dropped quickly when the council said, why would we spend all this money in these alleys when we have streets that are straight there?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? All those in favor, let me see your hands. It passes unanimously. We've got one more action item that is added, and that is the cancellation of your June 9th, since you decided to move that one item to the next meeting. I would entertain the motion to cancel the June 9th.
I move to cancel June 9th council study session meeting.
Second. Moved by Shane, second. Didn't you second it? Clint did. Who is this guy next to me?
Never says anything.
All right. Any other questions? All those in favor, let me see your hands. Passes unanimously. Back. Yeah, he's back. And council reports, Clint.
No reports to give at this time.
Dan?
On the 19th, I attended the transit board meeting. The board approved the hiring of a new CEO. Don Billion is to replace the current CEO, Nick Covey. And Don is currently the planning director at Link Transit. So it'll be a nice, easy, smooth transition. Nick will be training Don through the month of June. Nick will retire at the end of June. And Leavenworth routes continue to lead in ridership throughout the system. So, yeah, slow climb on all 3 routes for Leavenworth, which is really great. On the 21st, I attended the parking committee meeting. We had a presentation from ARC, our parking garage consultant, and their team. For this presentation, they provided us aesthetic options for the 2 primary size options that have really fleshed out with the community and with the committee, which are on the Blewett site, the 240 stall and the 315 stall parking garage options. And they gave us some aesthetic options for both sizes. They essentially showed the large one with one aesthetic option and the smaller one with a different, but you can kind of plug and play a lot of the design elements. The committee was really drawn towards the one that looks a lot more Bavarian, that looks like kind of like our brewery downtown, Sola Vita, those structures downtown. So those types of design options to make it look less like a concrete building. That said, that aesthetic design is a whole lot more expensive than a concrete structure with a few aesthetic features added to it. So there was a lot of discussion and feedback provided by the committee, some general high-level conversations about costs between the 2 different sizes and the various different aesthetic options. No decisions were made, but lots of good conversation about that. And the design is going to be kicking off in June. The pool lot is for permits and validation only. And we discussed making the city hall parking lot here behind City Hall, a validation lot. And the committee requested some additional information, for establishing this parking lot here behind City Hall as a validation lot, specific to City Hall, library, and farmers market operation hours, and kind of putting together a schedule on when we would require the public to validate versus when it would just be free for 3 hours, the way that it historically has been. So a little bit more discussion and work to be done there. And then the item that was taken off our city council agenda was associated with a sensor purchase, and that had been discussed at the parking committee as well, specific to adding the aerial sensors to the 2 parking rides we have in the city limits. And the committee had a good discussion about the need for these sensors and the cost associated with it, and kind of like the return on investment / data that we would get from this investment, because we would be paying for it in lots that are operated by another entity. And so the committee actually decided that they wanted to wait on this, not necessarily emit it as an option, but wait on it until all of our paid lots are up and running with these aerial sensors, and they're connected to the 2 large electrical directional signs that we're going to put on both ends of town, directing people to appropriate paid lots. Get that up and running to see if we want to add the parking rides in there at some point, and potentially talk to Link Transit about a potential cost share associated with data that they could gather for usage in their parking lots, something like that. So we moved that to a future discussion. That's all I got.
Right, see,
Okay, on the 19th, this month, I attended the Upper Valley Historical Society meeting. They moved we're gonna have a free museum day earlier in this month, but they canceled because they're moving it to August 8th, which is an international museum day. So there will be that day is when you can come to the library for free. The whole public. So
The museum,
yeah,
August 8th.
August 8th. We're still setting that up. That's the plan. And they recruiting. They're still recruiting for a secretary. They've got people wearing a lot of hats in that organization, as you know. So they're still looking for a secretary for the museum board. And they've got big plans. I didn't write it down, but they got their Mother's Day tea, which I think is coming up next. It's got to come up next month. So that's a fundraiser for them. They staged that in the Grange Hall, but it's lots of big plans and get a lot of folks coming. So you pay for that, but it's still a real successful operation. The other thing I attended was pretty powerful. I went to, you guys ever get this invite next year? I don't know whether they're going to do it again here, but the Columbia River Intertribal Forum, which is the 5 tribes. It's the Yakima.
it's the Fish Commission.
Yeah, the Fish Commission. Because you were at the next
I was not on there.
Yeah. So they're on a Sleeping Lady. It's the Yakimas, Umatillas, Warm Springs, Nez Perce. Be another one.
No, that was it.
That was it. Anyway, it was really powerful presentation. Very. I was really impressed with what they've accomplished. The Chinook run was basically extinguished in 1990, and because of the millions of dollars this tribal commission has spent, they brought it back to where it is now, with habitat restoration, all kinds of stream modifications, hatcheries, but really a very intensive, committed. The way they look at it was an eye opener for me as a white person to watch what their consensus is of fish, salmon, which is entirely different, much different than what we kind of look at it. I would, at least certainly different than how I've looked at it. So really a powerful experience. I went on a tour the next day of a few of the sites, the Skinny Creek restoration and the dam, Tumwater Dam. So time well spent for me. And if you ever get a chance, that invitation. I know people are working, so it's hard to attend that thing. But boy, it's worth every minute that I sat there through it. So
It's here, because I know it's not a town platform.
yeah, no, it is really. They know what they're doing, and very committed. The whole thing is, and then you get a salmon lunch, like no other. So there's that.
I helped set up that meeting, their audio visual stuff. I helped set up for it, but I didn't stay.
You got 0 salmon.
Yeah.
I did.
It's funny
So,
place.
Oh, good. Good.
Nice.
The other one I attended was the downtown steering committee thing, but I think I'll let Mike take that because he was there. So
Good, Mike.
and I didn't have to. I was there. Witnessed it. So that's it.
I don't have much to report. I attended the PRSA meeting on May 14th. We brainstormed ideas about our vision and values and gave all that info to Stephen Rubenstein, and he'll be putting together kind of an overall, all of our ideas together. We'll bring that back to us next meeting for us to talk about. Hopefully we'll have some vision and values this year. I'm hopeful. Yeah, pool opened on the 23rd. I don't know how that went, but people were swimming, I assume, and so it's great. And then last thing is the Splash Bash will be on June 11th from 1 to 6 p.m. That's all I have to report.
Let's see, on the 18th, I attended the mosquito control board monthly meeting and continuing to work through just adapting to the entire staff. The paid staff went to a retreat. I think it was in the Tri-Cities. There's a lot to this mosquito control thing. I have entire organizations that are getting this. So they came back with a lot of ideas and education on just things that we were doing right, things that we need to improve upon. And so busy implementing all that stuff and continuing to try and scout and take care of the mosquitoes here locally. The floods kind of changed things, changed the landscapes in some places, and then the kind of unusually dry spring too is just continuing to challenge kind of assumptions on where the water is, which is where the mosquitoes are. So it's been kind of fun to watch and navigate that. The 19th, the ad hoc committee to explore the golf course potential was dissolved, I guess. So it was supposed to be procedural, get together and get it out. So that, I guess, is nothing really to report except for that committee was concluded. Yeah, this morning we had the downtown steering committee meeting, which the discussions were about the ongoing efforts that just started actually for the downtown kind of spit shine to kind of pull us over till we do the full redevelopment, and that's going well. Looks like. And we talked about possibly creating a standard or a program to kind of normalize or have some regularity in flower planters and benches and bike racks kind of in the city right of way, not on private property or business property, but some ideas were floated, and we're going to talk about that again next meeting. Anything else I missed on that one?
We got it.
All right, Rob. Downtown steering committee. So work given. As a coincidence, an unfortunate coincidence to Chelan County, but that was a original facility. But last Thursday, I had a discussion with a consultant on cybersecurity. Former. Interesting. I know, and when I saw the posting from Chelan County this weekend, I was like, holy. So it's former Microsoft employee who has a consulting firm, and he's wants to do municipalities, including municipalities and larger government entities in his portfolio. Had a half-hour conversation with him through Fertilizer and Lobbyist also, and he wants to put a proposal together to submit to us for There'd be a reduced cost of evaluating our cybersecurity threat, if you will, and then in trade, being able to use it in his brochures that, hey, you know, I've looked at nothing giving out, not giving any sensitive information now, as we had saying, but just help us with our cybersecurity. And he asked me about other recommendations. So I said hospital district, I said Chelan County, I said the other cities. And so I just want to bring up to the administration that when I get the proposal, I'll forward it to you guys, and if we want to entertain it, because I don't know, we do Firefly, but I don't know what our cybersecurity threat is. Maybe not. That's it. And then I guess we didn't talk about this letter from Trout Unlimited, but I don't know how you want to handle that.
We did not talk about that letter from Trout Unlimited, but you did bring it up. Everybody has one, right? Yeah. So actually, I'm going to let Chantel bring this up because she's got an idea.
Okay.
Okay. Seems like a great opportunity with the Economic Development Committee.
Anyway, but that's my report.
We so I
Shall we let Travis do his report?
Yes.
First? Yeah, Travis. Travis.
I have no report. Thank you.
Back, Travis.
Okay, now let's have Chantel talk about.
So I was reminding somebody that we do have, and Andy, you would need to look into this probably a little deeper. But in our general fund, we have $49,500 that is earmarked and reserved because we sold some right-of-way access to our wastewater treatment plant quite a few years ago. By resolution, the ownership transferred to the general fund. And so that 49.5 has to be used for public viewing and access. And it's just been sitting there locked up for many years now. And this could be something to potentially look into if we want to utilize that on an annual basis.
It would give them at least
oh, sorry. It's a request from Trout Unlimited.
Trout Unlimited.
This might be a great study session conversation to learn the history about this and how the pond came to be operated and maintained by Trout Unlimited, and figure out like what's a good balance between the city funding and Trout Unlimited funding. Anything. I don't want the city to just take it over because Trout Unlimited just doesn't have money.
No,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So I'd love to learn a little bit more depth and context with regard to the fishing pond.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
It was PUD. It was part of their mitigation for fish.
They agreed to pay for
And they kept going and they kept contributing until.
And then, so the city has, I'm not sure exactly what year, but we have an agreement with Trout Unlimited for that organization to operate this fishing pond and own equipment on our property. That's the extended agreement.
Yeah.
We have no fiduciary responsibility for the equipment. We don't have any maintenance responsibility. We're just allowing them to do their activity on the city's property. They did apply for lodging tax funds a couple of years ago. The Economic Development Committee discussed it and did not feel that it's a tourist attraction. We don't see people with
people are coming into town for it.
Fish there.
But locals are using it.
Locals, yeah. So they applied for it and were awarded somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 in this for 2025, 2026 for ADA access improvements to the pond. When John Chons and I met with them at the beginning of April, and I saw that's the jackpot of logs that had accumulated by the pump house. We spoke with them. Now I got a couple. Sounds like this chapter, Trout Unlimited, is not long for the world.
Yeah,
is what I was basically told that
they're staging out. So they're trying to get newer blood and bring it up.
There was a younger guy with a couple kids at that meeting. I don't know how involved he is with them. He definitely has an interest in keeping it going. There's a staffer from WRI whose name escapes me, who was also present at that meeting. And it might be something that it makes sense for WRI to take over the management of that fishing pond. The money, again, that they got is for ADA access. And we talked about it in the field. The city typically doesn't let people repurpose their funds. You know, we've approved funds for a certain event. The event doesn't happen, they don't get the money. I'm not sure, and I told them that this is a reimbursement and it's at least 50% matched, do you really want to spend what little of your organizational funds you have left to do ADA improvements for a pond that might not come back to life if you don't get your pumps running again?
Right.
So that was the last conversation I had with anybody at the organization. Although Trout Limited, or no, WRI has been on the phone with Stephen a couple of times over the last week or so. So it sounds like WRI they were asking for like certificates of insurance from Trout Limited, which we never got any on file. So long and short of it is, it's. I agree with you. We should probably have a study session happen in here because this letter that Rob asked is them asking us to contribute to their ongoing costs for the pond.
Yeah.
Well, and when did the PUD no longer become involved in the
On
pond?
the timeline.
Because
It was just
Wasn't
as
it
I was
there-
elected.
wasn't
was
it
just
wasn't
as I
it part
was
of their FERC licensing though?
Huh?
Was it associated with their FERC licensing?
They no longer had to, so they gave it up.
They gave it up.
Yep.
That's a, well, it's a great asset, so I think we should probably look into it.
Yeah.
And then as a public service announcement, tomorrow night there's a fundraiser for the pond. It's benevolent night at Stein from 5 to 7. So a portion of the proceeds, it's a silent auction, plus also a portion of the proceeds going from that night is going to it'll help fish restoration pond. So maybe just to notice that there might be a former council members there tomorrow. You never know. Yeah.
One of the biggest movers behind this was Bob Struve.
Yeah, right. Bob was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge, but he's definitely up there in years.
Yeah.
But just had a heart attack. And,
He did.
yeah.
Oh,
So
But to somebody's point, there's a couple of younger folks that are associated with WRI, but also in the community. I know one of the managers at Stein is involved in approaching campus and good work. So I think I mentioned it briefly for the other parts meeting. We can somehow get behind this.
I called Jason Lundgren while I was still there,
Yeah.
trying to get him involved
Yeah,
and in
yeah.
touch. So, and I think there's enough people in the community to. Well, I hope that there's enough people in the community to step up who have an interest in this activity to see it go. But we'll reach out and set up a study session. My other updates, downtown steering. One of the things that we discussed, and I'm sorry I was multitasking for a brief second, was I brought to the committee concern of some of the planters that are downtown. I didn't realize until last year that the planters that are on the ground are put out there by the businesses and maintained by the businesses and not the city. And I did not know that. And I'm sure that people move into a new business space and see a planter out there and have no idea that the previous tenant was responsible for planting it and maintaining it. And there are some that are kind of unsightly. So I just brought that to the downtown steering committee's attention. And one idea that was proffered up was doing a bench and planter program. Put some money into the next biennial budget to buy additional benches and buy planters for people that the city would own, but we would locate it outside of the business that was interested, with the understanding that they would maintain it, and if they stop maintaining it, then we move it to someone else's space who will maintain it. So
Adopt a planter.
adopt it where.
Yeah.
So I thought that we adopted Snowflakes 12 years ago.
Oh yeah, right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
When I flagged, the phone down out? Yeah.
A reminder that we've got a retreat here in this room from 9 to 3 on Friday. And the mayor and I met last Wednesday, with the members of the Chelan County Regional Justice Center to talk about their next contract. We're currently in the end of a 3-year contract with them. They're offering up a new formula. We are basically paying them a retainer in the past, which was based on previous years, like a 3-year look back, and based on an average of the number of day stays that people who are arrested in Leavenworth were spending at the jail. Now they're introducing a new one where we just pay for play. So there's no baseline $6,000 a month. It's just this is the rate you pay for every night stay you have in the jail. And they want to do a 1-year contract with the new formula and see how it goes before talking about a multi-year contract. And they're doing this. They estimate it will actually save us money.
Yeah.
And what I found out is that all of their contract cities to the jail added up together are 3% of their overall operating. It's the larger users.
It's the cities. It's Wenatchee and
Wenatchee
and
and County that are sending most of the population to the jail. So I'm going to ask them to come to a study session in July to present this to you guys, because I don't want to have another scenario where I'm trying to sell a new sheriff's contract with huge increases and I don't have the all the information, all the answers to all your questions in my back pocket. I don't want to be there again. I don't want to back you guys to a corner. So we're going to do this in July.
Love it.
Yeah, let's see. Stephen and I met with, as he mentioned earlier, we went to a UBAT meeting last week. And then we have been invited, and Shane, you might want to come along to this one as well. The Beshaston Community Council. Emerson Peak is their secretary. He's a former UVAT member. He was the Beshaston representative. He reached out. He's now the secretary of the community council. He has asked me and Stephen to attend their meeting on the 17th of June at 7 p.m. So Shane, as chair of the PRSA, if you're available.
Yeah, why didn't I get that?
Also from the PRSA board member.
Emerson, yeah, it's not mentioned.
You said you bet.
Yeah, you said.
Oh, I said UVAT?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know
It was.
He's PRSA board member. PRSA. I'm sorry. Yes. All these acronyms.
I was like, oh, you found that one too?
And last Tuesday afternoon, I brought Stephen out. We met Nate from he's the operations manager for the sports club, and Matt Lyons from Tread. And we walked the Shasta Mill site, which I'd never been to. I, as a personal project, have been wanting to find a place to build a disc golf course. I thought the Ski Hill was the right place to do it. The U.S. Forest Service, for whatever reason, refuses to allow for a disc golf course to be developed at Ski Hill.
Oh, what?
Do you have any idea why?
Yes, it's all.
They don't.
Frisbee. Oh.
When you're throwing towards a disc and your disc goes off, you need to go chase your disc. There's a lot of vegetation trampling that does occur. Here's the tee, there's the basket. The discs don't always go where you want to go. They are saying social trails. It's not social trails. It's stumping of underbrush is what happens.
Right.
The fire district thinks it's a great idea. Keep the ladder fuel flow. But the Forest Service,
Is that just a local decision? Because
I think
Stevens Pass has one, and
I
they're
said the same thing. It's a local decision.
Yeah.
When I brought this idea up to, trust me, I've been since I got here, since I was interviewing, I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
And as I have support of the golf course of the Leavenworth Sports Club board. Talked to Matt. He put it into their environmental impact statement they were doing for this large regional plan. And the U.S. Forest Service local staff told him, if you don't remove the disc golf course, we're not going to sign off on the plan. Yeah. So they were forced to remove the disc golf course. When I met with Water Sports Club, Nate mentioned, hey, we have a lease with the Shasta Mill site. It's not in city limits, but what do you think about that site? So we walked it. I think it's doable, especially if we use some of the Fish and Wildlife. They have all the riverfront corridor land. We could just put a tee box here or there, or a basket we're not going to be throwing it into the river. It would be a much nicer site for it. And we couldn't use our lodging tax funds because the Leavenworth Fund has a lodging tax area that doesn't include Beshaston, but we could potentially use PRSA funds to do something out there and apply for county lodging tax funds to do it. And I've run up the flagpole with a couple PRSA board members, and they like the idea. So when Stephen and I and Shane go out to talk to the Beshaston Community Council, we're going to proffer this up as something. Here is something that we can do. It's a recreational amenity in your community that we can use our taxpayer dollars to do. Yeah. And I know that it was listed on the PRSA's recreational needs assessment. It was close to the bottom, but it's there.
It's funny, you come by honestly, this former city administrator in Brinkman.
Oh yeah.
Wanted to have a disc golf course, and he asked one at his house.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So why? Huh? No, you're right. But it's funny. You come by. He wanted over here. Yeah. You come by honestly. That's really great.
So yeah, I've played at Rich's twice, in fact. And I went last year to his Juneteenth tournament, but they were still golfing, and then I came to play disc golf. He does too. He does both a golf tournament and a disc golf tournament. He does 9-hole disc golf on his property. Yep. Now he uses the street. You can throw it across the street, but
Jeez.
Thanks, Shelby. I'll be at that meeting.
Through all the speeding loud cars.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's why he notices them, because he has to give it over to his tee off.
That's all I've got.
Chantel?
In your finance report, I identified a potential error by the state of $294,028.51 that was deposited into our bank account. It is not a mistake. It was a one-time, amazingly massive $58.8 million living trust transfer. I don't know who. I'll leave it up to you to wonder. But something did happen, and it happened not at Chelan County, so it happened at the State Department of Revenue.
How many millions? 58?
58.8 million, and our take was 294,000.
That's pretty cool.
So Andy, you have an extra 300,000 in rate money for streets and utilities.
Hey, REIT's more flexible now, you can use it for housing.
Great news, annual report for the city submitted today. Shirley and I are gonna do one last review with the checkoff list from the SAO on Thursday, but we have submitted it. And bad news for the county, good news for us. We got our $260,000 PRSA property tax check. So we have our money for the pool to operate for the first half of the year.
Now they get the systems back up and running.
We got the check in hand today, so we were like, yes. That's it.
Are there any restrictions on that $300,000?
Yeah, it's real estate excise tax money, so it is restricted to transportation or public utilities. Yeah, Andy uses it lately for water, but most of the history since I've been here has been streets.
So yeah, it lives in REIT, and then we just transfer it in for specific projects.
Does that include like sidewalks, like safe routes?
It can. Yeah. Yeah, both the TBD, Transportation Benefit District money, and
Or
the city
safe
money
your mountain
can go into the street fund.
Well, part of the Mountain Meadows, you're right, safe elderly to get those projects made, the safe.
sidewalk fixes.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't have much to update. June 1st, which is already next Monday, I'm gonna be increasing my hours so you see more of me. And then actually my last update is more just a question for you all. At the retreat on Friday, I'm going to be covering water and sewer capacity. And so as part of that, I'm talking, kind of explaining like what capacity is and what we're looking at when people ask, what is your capacity? I'm talking through availability and when a development or an application comes in, what else beyond just capacity we're looking at. With that in mind, do you have any other specific questions that you're thinking about when we're talking about capacity that you want me to be prepared to answer?
Yeah, I think we talked to parts of public works, it was very good information, but understanding what our long range availability for water hookups and growth, what we have left, that type of capacity, besides 12-inch rock and a 15-inch hole.
That's kind of more what you're curious. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I was interested in, like in terms of as we're developing, how many more water hookups do we have? Because, we have responsibilities for city limits, GA, so this kind of getting a better, and then from what I understand, how we could help you get the information that is needed, because I understand we have a lot of missing parts to our water sewer system, and things were done 30 years ago, back of a napkin. So how do we tighten up our system? That's what I would be interested in learning a little bit more about. What tools do you really need in the next 5 years to help tighten up that's information that you guys might want to know too, but.
And sorry, just so I'm really clear, to help tighten up our system.
Just like we have some water mains that are not part of our system, but they go down like East Leavenworth Road. There's private water lines, there's connections. There's connections that
Or some branching from
branching. So what tools do you need to get your hands around?
How many illegal ones do we have?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I can bring data on that too.
Yeah, but just like what you might need to help you answer these questions down the road for us.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
And you ever be curious also too, just kind of go, at least for me, going up the whole proposal or idea to turn the golf course into housing, like, so the apartment complex behind Safeway and the new wider ones out, if those were at full capacity, what would our water and sewer capacity look like?
Okay, that's what you're.
If you have time to maybe bring some of that information to.
Not from like a hard data standpoint,
Okay.
but I think more what I'm gonna, and I'll have numbers for you, but more it's like kind of walking you through the process of what, because there's a lot more components than like our capacity is 21 more connections. For example, like it's a lot more complicated and nuanced than that, and then also with our water system plan and general sewer plan, but that helps that those are the kind of things that you're interested in, so
Yeah, I am.
paint the
No,
whole big
no,
picture.
no, I agree. I think it's part of the same conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
And when people say like, we don't have enough water, why are we still issuing permits? I want to be able to answer that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Okay.
you know what? One good thing to look at is like, you look at what our water's done in the last, and you get those reports, right? On how much water we've put into the system.
Mhm.
It's been flat, folks, with all of that addition and everything that people say we've grown. We've added hotels, we've added in the last 5 years. You look at what the water that we're putting into it now, there's leakage and all kinds of other stuff and things, but basically we've been flat. So we've just by conservation and what people are doing themselves and
repairs
and the repairs and things. But anyway, that's one snapshot of looking at when people say they see all of what's happened and think we're running out.
And you're saying our capacity is still what it was?
We haven't.
We can get into that. I don't want to take up too much of your time today. But more just wanted to be sure that I'm bringing the data and ultimately answering the questions that you.
Don't steal the punchline. She wants to hit the big bag for Friday, right?
Exactly.
No, because that's common perception, so good. Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
All right, that's all I had.
Thank you.
I had to get that for the icicle work group and got Chris to give me the data and show, where we're at. It's pretty.
Would I take as more to share?
Well, no, it bolsters our arguments to them keep giving us money to do other projects. And
I moved to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Unanimous.